Right, hope everyone's well. Today we're going to be doing a video which I think will be helpful for a lot of people. So what we're going to be doing is connecting a back-end Node.js Express server with setting it up with HTTPS because, well, you need it if you're going to put it on the web. And then also pairing that up correctly with the front end, which is obviously client side, what the user sees. Now, I've had a lot of issues over the past kind of few months whenever I've been practicing my own ideas and implementing them. I've had a lot of difficulty getting them up and getting the Node server on HTTPS using the Hypertext Transfer Protocol secure version. Now, it's very important that you are able to do this because, well, first of all, for data to be sent from an HTTPS URL, such as your website, of course, you highly recommended to have your own website as an HTTPS. Amazon Web Services have it. If you don't have it, Google pops up with this not secure website. Now, that is pretty off-putting for users. So definitely you want to get that lock symbol. Now, when you're sending requests from this type of domain, then you can only send it to servers which are secured themselves. So today we're going to be looking at how to do that. Like I said, I've had challenges before, but I've figured out a good way and I'm going to share it in this video. So first of all, we're just going to begin with setting up the actual EC2 instance. Now, this is going to be done on Amazon Web Services. We're going to be using one of their products called the Elastic Computer, which is essentially just a digital, what's the word for it? Virtual machine. So we're going to be using one of their virtual machines, and what that means is that we don't have to have it on our own device, on our own local host, and have it running on here permanently. We're going to have it on the Amazon Web Services. So I'm just going to log in. I'm going to let you guys figure out how to do it yourself. I'm sure that's quite straightforward. So I'm going to log in and take it away from there. Right, so now that I'm in, we can click onto EC2. Or you can go into services. I think for me, EC2 comes up just because I have been using them recently. But if you go into services, go into compute, and then EC2, virtual servers in the cloud, you're going to click on that, and we're going to create our own EC2 instance. So you just want to click launch instance from there. Let's go full screen and make it a bit clearer. So call it cool test. And so it's going to be in Amazon. This is all totally free, by the way. I didn't mention that. Totally free to do this. So we're going to use the Amazon Linux AWS, free tier eligible. We're going to keep that the same. Key pair, we'll press create key pair. So this is what's going to allow us to SSH into our virtual machine. SSH is the method of connecting to these virtual machines. So we're going to create a new key pair. Again, I'll just call it test. I'm going to create that. That will then be downloaded into my downloads folder. And network settings, okay, so this is important. We're going to firstly allow HTTPS traffic, and we're also going to allow HTTP. But these need to be clicked. Now, just by clicking these, if you don't click these, you can configure it later on, but it's far easier to do it like this. With this SSH traffic, this is, like it says here, helps you connect to your instance. Now, we're just going to put my IP for this. It's far more secure. It means that anybody who's not on your SSH, not on your IP address, even if they do have your code, they won't be able to connect. Launch instance. So that's everything set up. It will take a bit to launch. So if we go on to our instances now, jQuery test pending. So it's going to take maybe a minute or so. So I'm going to pause it and I'll get back once that's been done. Cool. So now that's up and running. We're going to click on it, and we're just going to click on this connect button over here, and this will give us all the information we need to connect it. So we're going to be using the SSH client. Now, like I said, this is all the information we need. I'm going to show you how you do connect to it. You can do it from your Visual Studio Code. Right. And you're going to need to have this Remote Explorer installed. I'm not sure if it comes installed already. If it doesn't, download it, and this allows you to connect to virtual machines from your VS Code, which is really great. So we're going to click that configure button, and we're going to go to our SSH config file. I'm assuming you've already set up this at this point. I can't remember how you do it. I did it so long ago, but it's quite straightforward to do. So I'll look it up, and I'll put some information in the description. Now, this is where we enter the information. So this is for a previous thing that I've done. So we're just the host, doesn't matter what the host is. The host will just call again test. Host name, this is important. So the host name is what we're connecting to. You can either use the IP address, which is what we've done over here, or you can use this longer one. I'm going to use the longer one just because it's given to us. And then we're going to do user. I think, again, this doesn't actually matter, but I'm just going to go EC2-user. And then the identity file, well, that's the thing that we've just downloaded. So if I go onto my downloads and I'm going to copy it as a path. So downloads, right click on it and copy as path. And now I'm just going to paste that in here. Save it, and as you can see, it pops up. We just need to press this connect button up. It's going to pop a new window, and the platform we're using is Linux. Linux is the free tier version, so we're going to be using Linux. Continue, and we're going to be loading in anytime soon. Awesome. So we're in. If I go into the terminal, because obviously we're using a bash Linux terminal, I can firstly see what, I'll print the working directory. So we're in this directory here, and there's no files within it. So we're going to create a new file using mkdir make directory, and again, I'll just call it test. So then I'm going to cd into that file, cd test, and from here, this is where we're going to put all the code. So first of all, we're going to actually just download Node onto our EC2 instance because it doesn't come installed. So we're going to do that now. Right, so my go-to resource for setting up an Amazon EC2 instance is not the Amazon docs. Every time I've done it following the Amazon docs method, it just doesn't work. It's this guy's video. Check it out. It's really, really good. To be fair, you probably don't need to check it out because I'm going to run through what he does in this video. But it's a great video. I'm going to subscribe to him now as well, actually. So Sam Meachward. Awesome video. All of his stuff's in the bio. So we're just going to copy and paste these commands into our terminal, and that's going to install install Node for us. So just literally copy and paste. We'll do the same for this. So we'll copy and paste the second line in, and now we're going to do install Node.js, and this is all we need to do. This is just other stuff that he's got for his own project. So like I said, Sam, cheers for this, man. I'm gonna link his video, link his bio and whatever in the description as well. And as you can see, he's got other tutorials, so check them out. Righty, so now we've firstly connected to our EC2 instance, and we have also downloaded Node onto our EC2 instance. So now we're just going to initialize a Node repository. We're still in the test directory, so we're just going to do it in here, npm init. Just enter. Yes, that's okay. And now if we check our files, I'm just going to open the test file. Okay. Yes, I trust the authors. And as you can see, we've got our package JSON in here. So there's two things that we're going to need to install. We're going to be making an Express server. So we're going to be needing to install Express. And we're also going to be needing to install this thing called PM2. PM2 is how we're going to get this Node piece to run just all the time. So first of all, we're going to install Express. And then we're going to need to install PM2 globally, which is why I've done it separately. So we're going to say npm install -g and PM2. Right, so there's been an error installing PM2, and that's because we've done it globally, and we don't have the actual permissions to do it. So if we want to install something globally, we need to prepend it with the sudo keyword. That just allows you kind of master permissions. So we're going to do sudo install -g PM2. Sudo npm install -g PM2. I'm going to use the shorthand because I don't want to do it a third time. Brilliant. So now that we've done everything, we're actually ready to set up our Express app. Now there's two ways we can set up the file. We can do it by pressing new file, or we can do touch. So we can say touch, and then we're just going to go server.js. And that will create this file in here. So the first thing we're going to need to do is we're going to need to require Express. So we're going to say const express equals require express, and then we're going to say const app equals express. And this is pretty much what we need to set up our node server. So if we go straight away, we can do app.listen, and then now we can give in the port. So what I'm actually just going to do is I'm going to declare the port as a variable. So we're going to say port equals 3000. This is the port we're going to be listening on. And then we're going to listen on the port. And then we can also add a callback function, which is just going to say listening, and we're going to use not this syntax, we're going to use backtick so that we can inject our port variables. So we're going to say listening on, and then we use that and also port. So if we go on to node server, given we've set everything up right, it should say listening on port. Aha, haven't done console log. It's stupid of me. There we go. So let's close that. Now if we do it, listening on 3000. To be honest, I don't usually do this. I never do it because I know that it does work. So that's our server set up. It's not doing anything useful yet. And there is actually a few things that we do need to add. But to be honest, I'm not going to do it in this tutorial. So I would recommend adding JSON body parser. So yeah, add body parser. It's just npm body parser, and that will allow essentially the website to communicate more easily. And also, what else? So there's a few things we do need to install. We're going to need to install FS, which is like a file service manager, because it doesn't come default into our downloads. We're going to need to install FS. We're also going to need to install HTTPS. So we're going to install those quickly now. As you can see, happen very quickly because they're quite small. Right, so like I said, this server isn't doing too much anymore. If I start the server again and we go onto our localhost port 3000, then, oh, sorry, we're not on the localhost. We're actually on this EC2 instance now. So if I go over onto this one here and open the address, nothing's going to happen. Firstly, because we're not on the port 3000. Also, it's not HTTPS. So this is the correct server for our port. Nothing's happening because we're not doing anything. So we're actually just going to do set up a page where it just prints hello world. So it's going to be on the initial direction, on the initial slug, whatever you want to call it. And what's it going to do? It's going to take a request and it's going to send a response, and we're going to send hello world. So now if we restart this, also another, oh, I don't know why I'm not, didn't see me. Right, so if we go back onto this, now we're listening to, right, so there's some error. For some reason it's not doing anything. So we're going to try figure out why, but to be honest, I don't actually know why. I'm going to keep on trying. Right, so I think it's actually because the way we've configured it, how we did it so that you can only listen through port 80, and if I show you in the security, so it's only listening on port 80 and port 443. Now that just means that's not an issue because we have to go around this issue anyway. So we're going to go and do that earlier than I thought. As you can see, it's not as simple as just listening on port 80 straight away, and that's because if we do that and we start the server, as you can see, port 80 is already, the permission's been denied. I think something's either already using it or basically we can't use it. But what we can do is we can redirect traffic from port 3000 and we can redirect it onto port 80. So the way that I'm going to do that is through this Stack Overflow thing that I saw. So we'll copy and paste it, just copy and paste that in, and that's automatically done it. So now it's redirecting stuff that goes to 3000 onto port 80. So we'll start the server. Haven't saved it. Here we go. So listening on port 3000. If we now head over back to our thing, and we go, so I've changed it since fiddling around with it. And if we go port, no, don't need to do anything. Port 80 by default is HTTP. So we'll just want to do that, and then we just want to go /API. There we go. Okay, now it works. Right, so we had to redirect it slightly before. It's not an issue that I've noticed before, but clearly do. Maybe I haven't actually configured these settings until a point afterwards. But good. So actually, by doing that, we've ticked kind of two boxes. We've redirected the traffic. So we're also going to have to redirect the traffic one more time. We're going to have to redirect it for our HTTPS server. Now, by default, HTTPS listens on this port 443. So that's this is our HTTPS port. So we're also going to have to redirect some traffic onto that one there. And we're going to do that by going, so it's going to be 443, and the port that we're going to call it on is 8443, but we haven't got to setting that up quite yet. 8443. This is just ahead of setting it up. But yeah, next step is now we're going to do the front end, and then we'll finish off by linking it up with the back end with the HTTPS. So yeah, again, we'll do the front end totally from scratch. I'm going to make a new folder and call it test, and then to open up Visual Studio Code, I'm just going to drag and drop it in over there. We've got our back end server still open, just I've minimized it for the moment. And like I said, it's going to be a really, really basic HTML page with some JavaScript and maybe some CSS. Oops. So yeah, with some JavaScript, so CSS and HTML. So we'll do index HTML, and we're going to have, let's make a div first, and it's going to say, welcome to this tutorial. And then we're going to just have an empty p tag, which we're going to give it a class name. I'm used to doing React, so class name. We're going to give it a class, and the name is going to be link. Doesn't really matter what the name is, and for now it's going to be empty. So we're not actually going to do anything with it quite yet. Then we're going to make our JavaScript. So we're going to make a script.js, and we're going to link that into the page using the script tag. Script src, and we just want // that, and now I'm not going to bother with any CSS. So if we open up this with our live server, this is an extension you need to install. You get welcome to this tutorial, and yeah, nothing else, because we've just got an empty class there. And what we're going to do now, I'm going to call it ID, just so that we use document get element by ID. It doesn't matter. There's also a document get element by class name. It really doesn't matter at all. So firstly, in our JavaScript code, we're going to create a constant variable called the link, and that's going to be document dot get element by ID, and we're going to use the link because that's what the ID is over here. We've got the ID equals link. You can use query selector, you can use get element by class, you can do all these different methods. Now, what we're going to do is we're also going to call we're going to use the inbuilt fetch API, which is built into JavaScript. It's a way of communicating with APIs, sending requests, and we'll be able to send requests to this page over here, which has this information. So we're going to use asynchronous code for it. So let's think about what we need to do. Right, so I've thought about it a little bit more. We're also going to add a button, and what the button's going to do is we're going to click the button, then it's going to talk to the API and fetch it, and go from there. So we're going to have a button. We're going to say click me, and again this is going to have an ID of just going to call it button. So we do a similar thing. We'll say const button equals document dot get element by ID, and it's called button. I did say ID. Yeah, I did say ID. Right. Okay. So we're going to add a event listener to this button. Button dot add event listener, and it's going to listen to the click, and then it's going to call this function. So it's going to call an asynchronous function because we're using the fetch API, which is asynchronous, and that means we need to use this async keyword. Then we need to then we need to actually interact with the fetch API. So we'll say const our response equals fetch, and we're just going to copy and paste the what's it called from over here. So copy and paste it from this API here, and that's gonna we need to say await. Then we've got the response, so then we're going to say, okay, the data from the response equals await response.json, and this will make the data into a readable way. And for now, we're just going to go console log data.body. So data is quite a large response. There's a lot of information that comes with it. Body is the bit that we're interested in. That's the bit that gets sent in. That's the res.send bit. So if we, that should be good to go. If I save that, head over here, click me, and nothing happens. So what have we got? We've got a uncaught error, failed to get it from this API. Let's have a closer look. We can look into the network tab and have a look at what's happened. So what's it said? Of course. Is it cause? No data found. No data found. Right, so I'm not going to lie, I am a bit rusty with doing it just with vanilla JavaScript. I've been doing it mainly with React and Vue recently, so I'm a bit rusty. I think this might be coming up because we haven't set up the cause stuff properly. So we're going to do that quickly. That's also something we do need to do. So we're going to go npm install cause, and then we're going to install it over here. So const cause equals require from cause. Does it even, it's not automatically popping up. Then we're going to say app.use, and we're going to say use cause, and that's just going to take in just an empty function. This means cause stands for cross origin response service or something like that. It's essentially kind of the security features, but this gets us around a lot of things by doing that. Okay, cool. So now that we've done that, it actually has worked to an extent. So as you can see, when I click this click me button, we don't get an error. So it is connected to our API, but it's just returning undefined. So I'm just going to have a little look at what's happening. And actually, again, I think it's because we haven't installed something yet. So again, I was planning on installing this later on in the tutorial. However, I think we do need to do it now. So we're going to install the body parser. I know I mentioned it earlier on, didn't I? I mentioned it earlier on. Turns out I think we do need it. So we're going to install body parser. npm install body -parser. So then again, also going to call it and install it, require it over here. So const body parser equals require body -parser, and like we did with the cause, we're going to go app.use, and we're going to say body parser.json, I believe. Right, okay, I see. So I'm guessing what this does, firstly, if you don't know, the .use property within the app, that's how you kind of add extensions, features, to improve the flow of Express. Now, I believe by doing this, that then allows this object in our backend server, it then allows us to use this .json method. Now, if that's the case, and I've just learned something new, which is brilliant. So let's refresh it. We saved it. No, it's not up and running. Do you know what? I'm also going to do this now. So I'm going to install Nodemon. Now, Nodemon is great. Nodemon allows you to make edits to your server and just press Control S, and then it updates the server without having to close it and then reopen it. So we are going to do that now. Should have done it at the beginning, but I didn't think it was necessary. And now that is taking longer than I thought, I've realized it is necessary. So always download Nodemon. It's very, very handy. We're going to go into our package.json, and then in these scripts, I'm just going to add a dev command, and we're going to say when, well, we're going to say when we do call dev, that's actually just going to call nodemon server.js. So we'll save that. And now when we press npm run dev, it uses Nodemon server. So as you can see, if we go back onto our server, it's up and running, and we just need to change that. It will save it automatically. We don't need to open it and close it again, and it will automatically update it. So Nodemon's very, very handy. Right, okay. We've now added the body parser. So I'm going to go into our console, and fingers crossed, still undefined. Right, so what I did was I just removed the dot body. So I just deleted that, and that allowed us, when we click it, it then returns this. So we can be more specific. We can say .people, and then when we click this button, it will return the variable assigned to that key. I'm just going to quickly double check if actually we did even need to install that JSON parser in order to get this JSON property here. Yeah, so that body parser, it's actually only to do with, this is what I initially thought, it's only to do with when you're receiving requests on the server side. So that's when bodyparser.json comes handy. So we don't need it for this tutorial because we're going to be sending stuff over to the client, and the client can handle it. But often, so in all the projects that I've used, you'd need to kind of communicate both ways, and in that instance you will need to do this bodyparser.json. But for this tutorial, it's not going to be needed. However, you know that it is very necessary. So right, what's next on the to-do list? Right, yeah, so at the moment nothing much important is happening. So what we're going to do is we're just going to make it a bit cooler, and we're going to say link.inner HTML. We're going to say that equals data. And we're going to say that equals data.people, and it's just going to pop up with this random string of letters and words. That will just, there we go. So it's injected that this string into the paragraph. Now we're going to get onto the main focus of the video, and the main focus of the video is turning this from being an HTTP not secure server, and we're going to make it an HTTPS server. Now, why do we want to do that? We want to do that because when we're on a website, when we have our own website and we publish it to something like Netlify, we want to have an HTTPS tag so we can get that secure lock on it. It's just a given. We need it. We cannot communicate to these backend servers unless they are also the HTTPS protocol. So it's absolutely the utmost importance that we get both of these to become secure. Now, for security, you need to get a certificate and you need to get a key, and you can do it yourself. You can use OpenSSL within your like in the command line, and you can make your own certificates and you can sign them yourself, but it doesn't work. It gives you an unsecure certificate, so it's very, very annoying. You can make them your own, but they don't work. So you're going to need to use a provider. The provider that I use is ZeroSSL. Now they're totally free. Not totally free. They are free to an extent. So if we log in, I'm just going to log in using my credentials. Okay, cool. It's already done. Now you get 3 90-day certificates to use. So to be honest, for most people, that's sufficient. It's also pretty cheap once you do go beyond it. But then there's also, you can use OpenS. Let me see. There's another free SSL provider that you can use. I think it might be OpenSSL. A lot of people recommend this. I've actually had a lot of difficulty using it myself. But this is a free method using 0 SSL. So we're just going to press new certificate. We're going to enter the domain, so that domain is this here. It's our AWS server. I'm going to enter that, Control V, and we don't want the HTTP bit. So we're going to delete that. Now it's saying it's a valid server. So we want a 90-day certificate. 1 year is for the pro version. We're going to auto-generate the CSR, next step, and we're going to press next step. So right, this might be because I've done too many or something. Right, so I've reached my limit, which is really, really annoying. Is there... Oh, so annoying. Cancel. So look how many I've cancelled. Oh, damn. Right, okay, I'm just going to create a new account. Right, so not the best advertisement for these guys. Not that I'm actually advertising them. They haven't paid me or nothing like that. They wouldn't pay me. I get like 20 views a video. Right, so yeah, I think it should still be copy and pasted in. Remove the HTTP bit. Next step, we're going to take a 90-day certificate, auto-generate, finalize your order. Got the free tier because it's a new account. And there we go. Right, so now we need to verify it. So we're going to be using the HTTP file upload method because CNAMEs with AWS, I've got no idea. I do know what a CNAME is, but I don't know how to use them with AWS. So we're going to be using HTTP file upload. Now, how do we use this? Okay, so what 0 SSL are asking us to do is they're asking us to have these paths. What's the word for them? Routes. That's the word. So we want to have this route, and we want to have this file underneath it. So right now, of course, if we click on the link, there's nothing there. But if we download, right, so yeah, download auth file. I'm going to download that auth file. We're then just going to drag and drop it into our server. So we're going to open up our server again. And we're just going to drag and drop it in here. So it's just temporary, not very important because we can delete it afterwards. We'll delete that. We'll delete that. Right, so what do we want to do? So we firstly want to use that FS module that we've installed. So we're going to say require FS. So we're going to do that, and then what are we going to do? We're then going to need to import this file. So how do we do that? Let me just have a little reference. Yeah, okay. So we're just going to say right const file equals fs dot read file sync, and we're then just going to be taken. I'm going to copy and paste this .txt. Cool. Then we're going to need to make this route, which is very straightforward. So what we're going to do for that is we're just going to say create a new route. We're going to say app.get, and it's going to copy and paste this. And then we're going to copy and paste this. Now, before I do anything, I'm just going to check that the route is working. It's going to get a request and a response. And that's going to go to an arrow function. Is there a closed bracket? No, where's the closed bracket gone? Right, that's where the closed bracket is. So it's going to take a request and a response, and we're going to say res.send, and we're just going to say res.send file, and we're going to just send the file. Now, if I've done this correctly and we click on this link, your path must be a string. Right, okay, so we don't go res file, we go res.file like that. So let's save that, refresh the page. What's going on? Oh, error. Path must be a string to res.send file. Right, it is a string. refresh. Okay, so it needs to be the absolute path. So what we're going to do is we're just going to right click on that and we're going to say copy path. And now we're going to go like that. So fingers crossed, this is it. There we go. So that's the information. Now we can verify it. Press next step, verify domain, and it's verified. So now we're going to receive the certificate and we're going to receive the key, and then we're just going to add that into our own website, into our backend server, and that's going to act as the certification that it's secure. So yeah, let's download this zip file. So when we download it, I'm going to extract it just into my downloads for the meantime. And we're only interested in the private key and the certificate. So again, we'll just drag and drop it in here. Close this. We will be using the file sync for this stuff. We don't need this anymore. So I'm just going to delete that route. And that's not what we're file syncing. So we're going to be taking the private key, private.key, call that the key. And we're going to be taking the certificate, fs.read file sync, and that's going to be certificate.crt. Good. I think I've spelled that right. Okay, we're also going to now require that HTTPS module we installed at the beginning. I'm going to say const HTTPS equals require. I'm pretty sure I've installed it. HTTP. Recommendation on this is so bad. I think it's slow because it is a virtual machine. Okie dokie. So we've got that. Now we just need to listen to it. We've already moved the port over. We've already redirected the traffic that's going from 8443, and we've redirected that into 443, which is the HTTPS. So now what we need to do is we just need to set up an HTTPS port to listen on. So we're going to firstly put these variables here. I'm just going to do that over here. I'm going to say const, and we're going to say, what do we call it? Doesn't matter what you call it. What do I call it over here? I call it the credentials. So const cred, and that's going to be an object. It has the key, which is the key. We can actually shorten this syntax because it's got the same name. So we just say key, and then we just say cert as well. And then we need to say, I think it's HTTPS. I'm just going to double check this. Right, so we need to create another variable. So constant HTTPS server, and that's going to equal https.createServer, and then it's going to be taking in the credentials, and it's going to be listening for the app. And then we're going to say https server.listen, and then we're going to do 8443. Now, the reason why we're saying 8443 is because earlier on in the tutorial, when we redirected the traffic to port 80, we also redirected the traffic to port 443. So we redirected the traffic from port 8443 to port 443, and port 443 is where the HTTPS server runs from. So this is all good to go now, and now our server is totally secure. So at the moment, if we, well, let's just, that's not right. That's our thingy-mabobby. So it doesn't really give me much. HTTPS. And there we go. And we've got the lock. It's worked. Yeah. If we remove this, if we're saying don't listen to it there, it's not going to work. Throwing an error. Refuse to connect. Now, so if we also then don't use the correct credentials, say key equals no start line. Okay, so well, essentially we need to also use the correct key and certificate. That's also very important. So yeah, That's the tutorial done. Of course, every kind of aspect covered in this video is very, very basic level. Of course, if you wanted to turn this and use it into your own app, this is not an app yet, but this is the basis to build an app upon, build a web app upon. So yeah, we've got that special lock. This then allows our, which we don't have, but our live server is going to be HTTPS, and like I've said, I've emphasized this many times before, you must have an HTTPS server side if you want to connect your client side to it. Right now it's just HTTP on this web app, on the HTML page, but when it comes to getting your web app, your front end app HTTPS, then it's far easier. If, for example, if you're using Netlify, by default you get an HTTPS certificate. So yeah, hope that was interesting, hope that was useful. Drop a like, whatever, do that stuff, and yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Right, I do apologise, I missed one little thing out, and that's how we can keep the server running forever without having to worry about it. If you remember, at the very beginning of the video, we installed PM2, which is the Node package that we're going to be using to do it. So to use that, it's very, very quick. We're just going to go PM2 start and the name of the server, server.js. And what this will do is it just sets up some sort of system. I don't know how they do it, to be honest, which just has it permanently running. And as you can see, we can still use the node. We can actually still use the terminal. If we close the app, it will still be working. And this is great because it just means we have it on the background, just running permanently all times. So this is the actual end of the video. Like I said, hope you enjoyed it. And yeah, stay tuned for more stuff like this in the future.